There's one additional action step I would like for you to consider to manage your caregiver anger, and that action step is forgiveness. Now, like most people, I have relatives. I had parents and siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins. I have 3 biological children and 5 stepchildren. So I've had many opportunities to be angry at just family members, and I've had to work through some pretty tough issues with several of them, to be quite honest. Now, several years ago, there was one relative that did something that was so egregious. It was so offensive and so awful that it took over my heart and my mind. What she did was the first thing that I thought about every morning. It was the last thing I thought about every night, and it woke me up often in the middle of the night. And one morning, I was standing in front of the mirror putting on my makeup, and I realized I really had a permanent, nasty, angry scowl on my face, and I was losing my hair. And it was all because I had just become so consumed with my anger at this person. So I decided I had to do something about it. And years earlier, I had heard a sermon that was very helpful to me dealing with my anger as I was going through a divorce. And the minister said, there are only 3 things that we need to forgive. And these are the things that we cannot possibly understand, that we cannot accept, and we cannot rationalize away. These are the things that we need to forgive. So I decided I needed to do 2 things in order to get past my anger with this person. And the first thing I did was I sat down and I wrote her a letter. And I defined what she had done. I explained how it made me feel. And I identified what I wanted her to do or needed her to do to make this okay. And then I set about forgiving her. And I will tell you, this was not easy. And I did not do it for her. I did it for myself. So I developed a mantra that said, what she did was wrong. I release it. I let it go. I forgive her. And I would say this over and over and over again. And eventually, I got to the point that I could release it. Now, I will tell you that I have forgiven her because I chose to, for a couple of reasons. I didn't want to continue to carry this heavy burden inside of my heart. I also didn't want to split the family. It doesn't mean that I have forgotten. I will never trust her. I will always be on my guard, but I can be friendly toward her, and we can be together in family gatherings, and I can be free of that tension. So I hope you will think about the saying that has been shared by many people, including Gandhi, that hanging on to anger and resentment is like drinking poison every day and expecting the other guy to die. And I really learned that lesson with this woman because I realized that my anger was only hurting me. It wasn't hurting her. And so I decided to stop drinking the poison. And I hope if you're really upset with somebody, you can stop drinking the poison as well. So we have to forgive others, and then sometimes we need to forgive ourselves. So I went through a really nasty divorce when my children were teenagers. And my son Eric and I, who was a senior in high school, boy, did we ever butt heads. He was rebelling in every way he possibly could. And there was one situation that I handled so poorly. And the night that it happened, I felt like I had completely failed as a mother. And it just, I was just so disappointed in myself. I was mad at him, but I was more disappointed with myself for the way I handled it. And I carried this around for years. And every time I thought about that incident, it was like my heart was being pierced again. It was just as raw and as painful as it was in the beginning. And then, about 15 years ago, a friend called and invited me to a summer solstice party. And I said, okay, that sounds like fun. What should I bring? And she said, well, bring something to eat, something to drink, and something to burn. And I said, all right, what would I bring to burn? And she said, well, do you have any old grudge or guilt or anger or resentment hanging around that you'd like to be free of? And I said, actually, I do. So I sat down and I wrote about this incident. I wrote about everything that Eric did. I wrote my part in it. I described how I failed him and how I wish I could go back and do it differently. And then I put it in an envelope. I sealed it, went to the party, threw it on the flames, and I watched it go up in smoke. And here's the funny thing, that once I threw it on the fire, I was able to release my emotional attachment to it. I still remembered the incident, but it no longer had the power to hurt me. I let it go. So, Eric is now 46, and several months ago, we met for lunch, and we were talking about life and forgiveness and, all of the complications that come with being an adult, which he fully is right now. And I was talking about this incident. It came up. We had never talked about it since the night it happened. And do you know what his response was? He had zero memory. He did not recall this event at all. And it made me realize the importance of forgiving ourselves, because I had carried this burden around with me for years, and it was something that absolutely meant nothing to him because he had no memory. And I would guess that if you sat down with him now and said, Eric, what things did your mom do to mess up your life when you were a kid? He might have some interesting stories that don't resonate with me at all. But that was not one of them. So I would ask yourself to be gentle with yourself and forgive yourself frequently and completely. As a caregiver, there are going to be moments when you lose your temper, when you say things that you wish you could take back. You're going to do things that, in retrospect, you think you could have done so much better. And just remember, what you are doing is incredibly generous, and it is tremendously hard. So cut yourself a lot of slack. Forgive yourself for those moments when you are not as generous, as kind, or as saintly as you wish you could be. And just know that tomorrow you're going to have an opportunity to do it all over again and to do it better.